from your perspective, what were, some thoughts that came to you as you watched this film?
Well, I really enjoyed how he drew this parallel, or how the movie drew this parallel between him and Saint Francis. Firstly, I did not expect it. I thought it was just really going to be about Pope Francis, but how he brought in that whole aspect of Saint Francis, and that really also captured me being a Franciscan.
Of course.
So that was already a first thing that kind of like got me engaged, and I never expected it. It was something I did not expect. The crux of it is really Pope Francis being a man of his word, whereby he really practices what he preaches. And he sets the example for it. And there were so many lines that really just shouted out so many important things. How he was with the people, and already when he was the Archbishop, as it started off, he was there on the grounds with the people. Even as the Pope, and when he was at the place where there was such huge disaster, he was in his poncho, and he could have made something up, but he was so sincere. I just felt that strong sincerity that he really had no words. Even though he had no words, he was there accompanying the people. Then again, after that, you saw some scenes of him being in his what they call it, Mr. Bean car, and again, that's another symbol. And that little sister, there was that little sister there that I think knew Pope Francis before he was Pope, and they managed to have a short catch up. And she said that his life is now a sermon. And I just think back and just bring it back to ourselves, that how are our lives like? It just brings back a kind of reflection. Yeah, that's the Pope. Yes, that's Pope Francis. But then how do we bring that to reality and bring back to our own lives? How is my own life a little sermon, and how I live it out? He talks about, closer to the end, you see all the candles at the memorial, and he says that we too can be little lights. How have I been a kind of a little light for someone who is going through their own kind of darkness, been experiencing such things even in ministry, in being in a fraternity of Franciscans, that even religious can go through darkness? And how are we, even if you've got nothing to say, being that presence of that little light? The more you affect others, the more you are called to be humble. And that's like, wow, that's quite powerful, because then your life becomes a bigger witness, and smaller things that you do, decisions that you make, if you're not humble, the power can ruin you, as he says, and others as well. And that's like, oh yeah, that's quite true if we're not aware. So many points in this movie. Is just so rich.
It's so rich. Yeah, and so maybe I can invite some of us on the in the call here on the Zoom. If you have any questions you'd like to ask as well at any time, feel free to unmute or raise your hand. I like what Friar Gerald reminded us about the little sermon. Any religious congregation, regardless, it is community of human beings. Yeah. So first and foremost, right? So I think it's perhaps even more challenging, as a community. So therefore, for any of us, the more senior our positions, or the more called you are upon to lead the group, then the more you have to live out your life as a sermon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's very, very true. I think another point that kind of really brought me home to Singapore. How can this movie apply to us here in Singapore? And there was a section, a portion of it, talking about this fast-paced life. And we are in a very fast-paced world and fast-paced life here. And he stopped at one point and he asked people that came to him for confession, last time, do you play with your children? And I think about it, and the young people that I talk to, and a lot of them have very little interactions with their parents. Just perhaps to think about, what can we do to slow down this fast-paced life? Yeah.
The reality is in Singapore, certainly, and not just Singapore, right? The whole world has had to learn how to slow down. During the circuit breaker, I did appreciate the silence and the pace, that forced us to slow down, because we are all, products of the Singapore system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And it becomes a great challenge, because I've heard of many families who, because of circuit breaker, tensions have actually gone up, because they're all now cooped up in the same dining room and living room trying to do their work, and and everyone is at each other's faces. We find it difficult to do that, because sometimes we are also living such individual lives, even though we're in family, and now we are forced to be in close proximity, and now that people are starting to go back to work, everyone's like, yeah,
But ironically, right? I mean, that's why when we discuss films, we also need to contextualize, right? Not just to our country, but also to this time. Yeah. It's clearly, it is now. It's unusual times. Most people are now finding it harder to return to the workplace, because they've actually realized that things that in the past people used to think we can't operate so effectively remotely actually can work. So just like what I think Pope Francis models in the way he engages with his people, is not to get fixated on one particular approach, but to be flexible, and to be a man not only of his word, but a man of his time. To be able to adapt and be willing to look at things that are a little bit different, from how things were done or how you were brought up, because now things have changed. So what do you think are some of the challenges that he talks about that we might have with regards to creation or with family, and what were other areas that came up for you?
Well, I think some of the other powerful scenes were, one of it was the flashes of his concerns on St. Peter's Basilica, of the different aspects of creation that is really, really sad. As well as you see those scenes of rubbish and rubbish mountains, and he talks about a culture of waste. And Singapore is also facing that. We're facing that. You just come to, Chinese New Year or Christmas, and you just turn on the news, you look at CNA. They have those documentaries on buying and throwing away kind of a culture, and we are immersed in such a culture. Do we have much answers? I don't know, but at least we have an awareness, so that at least we can be more discerning when we buy certain things.
Culture of waste is more than just the physical waste, but it's how we take care of each other as well. So any other takeaways for you from this particular documentary, that insights into the Pope, or to what matters to him as a person, but also what matters to the church?
It's interesting because Pope Francis, being the leader of the Catholic Church, had never imposed a faith onto another person. And he always saw that, and he even said this, what was the common thing by everyone is the bond of God's love that we all share. It's because of God's spirit. Well, we can call God God, but another religion will call him by another name. But he never imposes the faith onto other persons, but always goes by a compassionate stand in this human fraternity that he talks about. And just recently, he had released this most recent encyclical, Fratelli Tutti.
I know, I heard about it.
About all brothers. There is this human fraternity that we belong to. And he released it just on St. Francis's feast day. Yeah, last year. So really he is one of the best Franciscans who's not a Franciscan.
Don't you want that? No.
Yeah, he's doing a great job for all Franciscans out there, really.
Are you all giving him PR fees or not?
The Vatican is supporting him.
Of course. Yeah. So yes, he's really immersed himself into the role, and not only as the Pope, but also as Francis, as representative of Francis.
Francis, exactly.
Yeah, so I think no one else could do as well as he has. And I think it's because, as you said, he's fully present in whatever he does and whatever he is accepted, and the sincerity comes through.
Yeah. Really the spirit, part of the spirit of Saint Francis, and that's why his order is called the Order of Friars Minor. Friars coming from the Latin word frater, which you get the root word from fraternity, so about brotherhood, right? And minority, being humble, being simple. So he really embodies that. And Francis writing this great prayer of the Canticle of the Creatures, as we also heard in the movie, extending this brotherhood not just to humans, but really all of creation. And I think that's something that Pope Francis models for us, that especially in our multiracial, multicultural society, it's something that we need even more, that every person is a brother, is a sister, and we try our best, to approach them in that way. Yeah, because really God is the creator of us all and the father of us all, and whether they subscribe to being a Catholic or not, they are still created by God nonetheless, and they are our brother and our sister.
Yes, it really connects us with our own community here, and that actually everything we do in community is, living out our faith, and not that only the people in habits live out their faith, right? In fact, we all have our own challenges, as we know. Okay. So any other final comments that you'd like to share, that people can as they walk away, thinking about this film, or maybe as they sleep on it tonight, what do you think might be something that you could remind us to leave behind? Maybe
we can end off where we began, in Pope Francis's first few remarks. Very, very powerful statement saying that really the world today is mostly deaf, because we go about our days just doing things and just getting our day over and done with. There are lots of things that we may not be able to hear, either by our busyness, our disposition, whatsoever. And I think we need to, as Pope Francis says, slow down, to be able to hear the things that God is inviting us to hear. And he says that, he encourages to talk little, because sometimes we can talk a lot. On the reverse, to listen more, to listen a lot, and to say just enough, right? And to look the person in the eye. That's really to give the other person his or her dignity. that human dignity, to appreciate the person as a brother, again, as a sister, as a person that is loved and created by God, just as we are. So, as he said, to do as other people would like to do to you. And how do we do that? Really, it's how are we being that little sermon for others? That's the summary.
Yes. Oh, wow. That's the toughest, right?
Yes.
To live out the little sermon in our daily lives. Yeah, it requires lifelong learning. Yeah, because we will make mistakes, but at the same time, we need to forgive ourselves and forgive others. But it is a daily challenge. But that's why we are continuously on this conversion process, right, Friar?
Yep. That's why we have the faith. That's why we have Jesus, and that's why we have the church and the sacraments. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for enriching our film experience. But before we end, what I like to do is then share the one screen or a couple of screens that we did earlier. One is to encourage people to continue reflecting on the CST. Catholic social teaching whenever we watch films. This one, because it's about the Pope, it's very clear, and all the 10 social teachings are relevant. All right, thank you all very much. It's been a real pleasure, to be having a fireside conversation with Friar, and really makes the film and the Pope, more real for us. Thank you.
Thank you, and God bless.
Enjoy. God bless.
Thank you. See you.
See you.